Hi, this is a short lesson on the three branches of government. The legislative branch makes the law and is led by Congress, which is bicameral, meaning that it has two parts. The upper house, which is the Senate with 100 members, two from each state, and the House of Representatives, which is the lower house based on population. So states with more people like California have more representatives. Their job is to make the law, and so only members of Congress, senators, or representatives can actually propose laws. The president and or other organizations often talk about making laws, but really it's only the members of Congress that can do that. In order to pass laws in their originality, they just need a simple majority vote. The next branch is the executive branch, which is in Article 2 of the Constitution, and they carry out or enforce the law. They're led by the president and vice president, which are chosen by the Electoral College. The Electoral College is determined by the people. Assisting them are the various cabinet departments, led by secretaries, except for the judicial branch, which is led by an attorney general. They help carry out the laws that are passed by Congress. The executive branch, through the president, also has the ability to veto laws, but the Congress can then in turn, with a 2/3 vote, override the president. The last of the three branches is the judicial branch, which interprets the law. The judicial branch is in Article 3 of the Constitution, which includes language that sets up the Supreme Court, but the number of justices is determined by Congress. It also says in the Constitution in Article 3 that there are other inferior courts, and those once again are designed by Congress. There are basically three layers. The lowest layer are federal district courts, where actual court cases happen, but they involve federal crimes. They can appeal their decisions to a middle level, which is known as a court of appeal, where a panel of judges decides whether or not the lower court had a correct ruling. And then you can appeal it a third time to the Supreme Court, which has 9 justices. All federal judges serve for life unless they retire, die, or are impeached and removed by Congress. The judicial branch interprets the law, which means they basically act as a referee. As a referee, they hear both executive actions and laws made by Congress and decide if they are in keeping with the Constitution. They also decide if the laws are clear enough, or are too vague, or perhaps incorrect. Once the Supreme Court makes a decision, that's final. Now, all three of these branches, of course, interact with each other. Congress passes laws, they can be vetoed or signed by the executive, and the judicial branch can decide if they're constitutional or not. The president appoints the federal judges, but they in turn are approved particularly by the United States Senate. So you can see that there's a system to keep any one of these three branches from becoming too powerful. An example of all three branches interacting would be President Trump. President Trump has decided, going back to the impeachment trial, and the impeachment trial, by the way, are just charges levied by the House of Representatives. The actual conviction has to happen in the Senate in order for an officer to be removed. However, of course, in the case of President Trump's impeachment, that did not happen. But in that case, the president argued that he did not have to turn over witnesses or evidence necessarily to Congress. Congress has a long-standing precedent, going back decades and decades and decades, of where if they wanted witnesses or evidence from the executive branch, they would ask for it, and if it was not given, they would subpoena it, just like a court, an official request that has to be obliged. They, of course, levied one of the charges against the president during the impeachment is that he was obstructing Congress, not providing them with their oversight ability, the ability to gather information. Well, that was one of the charges filed by the House, and the Senate decided to reject that. But the House of Representatives still decided to sue the executive branch, and that went to the federal court system. And a lower court ruled that there is no law actually punishing the executive branch if they don't follow through with the subpoenas and turn over evidence or witnesses. Since that's the case, basically at this point, it appears that the executive branch doesn't have to turn over information or people to the legislative branch for questioning. This can either be resolved in two ways. One is that Congress could pass a law that does clarify that matter and provides consequences, or they could continue to appeal it through the judicial branch, the whole way up to the Supreme Court. That just shows you a brief way of how the three branches interact and how the system of checks and balances exists.